Hi, I'm Jazz, and I'm an alcoholic, and I'm codependent. I work a 12-step program, and I seek health. I am a seeker and a traveler in my journey. This is going to take a little bit to get out, and so I will start. One of the tools of recovery that I have learned is no crosstalk. And they say this at the beginning of a 12-step meeting. They'll say no crosstalk, and they'll share about the crosstalk guidelines, and there are tent cards, and these are in place to keep the meeting safe, and they're guidelines to help me focus on my recovery, my journey, and everything that pertains to that, and my feelings, and to keep it about myself, because really that is the only thing that I am in control of. And even sometimes I have a hard time getting in control of myself. So I need more things to do that. No crosstalk is many things. So it's not giving advice. It's not interrupting. It's not touching anyone. It's asking for permission. It's not naming anything. It's not speaking to people directly in a room when there's sharing going on. It's not talking about other people's recovery. There's no swearing. We're not supposed to emotional dumping, oversharing, long sharing, using principles in all our affairs, keep using I statements, not saying you, not saying we, and so forth. So there are lots of things that help keep our meeting a safe place, and no crosstalk is one of them. I have just gone through 2 rounds of kindergarten back to back, which has helped with my crosstalk. And I've been in CODA, and I've been in AA, and I've been in these 12-step programs, and my crosstalk has refined, and it's helped me to have respectful and healthy communication. It's helped me to have respectful and healthy communication to everyone in my life, my kids, my family, my friends, myself, my higher power. Like anytime I'm doing any kind of talking in my life, whether it's to myself or out or to little ones, I really try to stay within the crosstalk guidelines that I have learned in the rooms. So it's consistent, and it's in all my affairs. And that adds stability, and I can rely on that stability. And it's taken work and progress to get to that point. The thing about not giving advice, some rooms are going to have more advice giving than others. And I found when I got to a CODA room, and this was like years of sobriety down the road, was when I got into this kind of program. And when I got into these rooms, I was irritated with how strict they were about crosstalk. And so they even have, timed shares, and the room gets really quiet. It gets really emotional. It's a deep level of recovery. Like this is a different kind of peeling off the layer of the onion. And when I first went in, I didn't know if I was codependent. It took a few meetings for me to figure that out. I didn't like saying that. And so I really dipped my toe in the water many times before I really confirmed that for myself that this was a place for me. So it might not be for everyone, but when I got there, I was, after really trying it out, I really liked staying there, and I really enjoyed what I was learning, and my growth was continuing. So not giving advice it's a little bit looser in some other areas in 12-step programs. And in this program, I found it was really strict, and it felt strict. I don't think it's strict today. I think it's like a deep level of respect, learning how to really respect myself and others, and being responsible for what's coming out of my mouth, being responsible for saying things in a loving, gentle, respectful way to people. I can be responsible for that. And so I started taking ownership of the words coming out of my mouth and how I was saying it, and was I being too aggressive, and was I swearing, and was I listening to the other person? Was I engaging? My communication has improved huge because of no crosstalk. And I started in the rooms, and I started practicing the no crosstalk even in business meetings in the rooms, and practicing my boundaries in the rooms, and practicing how to keep myself safe in the rooms. Like in the beginning days and stages or months, I practiced in the rooms before I got enough strength and courage to start practicing that in my life, and then practicing that in my relationships, and practicing that with myself. So no crosstalk is it's asking people permission. Would you like some feedback on that? Can I comment on your share? It's, I don't just give out what I think to people on their stuff anymore. Like I don't give the advice. If I want to stay true to that, not giving advice, that means I cannot give advice. That means advice. So by not giving advice, I tried this in the early, maybe it was in the first year, but I went as trying a new behavior. I went the whole week and I did not give any advice to anyone. And that sounds funny, but it was hard to do, to try that. And I didn't give any advice. And guess what? Nobody asked. And that confirmed to me that people aren't out there looking for my unique advice. It's not up for me to tell people how to live their life. It's actually very judgmental of me to tell people how to live their life and to be giving advice. So I just do my own recovery. I work on my own growth. I use I statements. I practice keeping things about myself. And no crosstalk helps me with that. There's no naming people in the rooms. There's no direct communication when other sharing is going on. We're not supposed to be hugging or touching anyone. That's something that also has to be, I have to ask permission. And some people might roll their eyes at the hugging thing. And speaking from someone that doesn't like hugging, I have my own triggers and traumas around hugging and my personal space. And I'm a mom of 4 children and I'm overstimulated most of the time. Most of the time I don't need another person touching me. That's one thing. I have some of my own traumas around hugging that I don't like to be touched most of the time. And this comes from, because I'm in Coda, I'm working on my deep rooted issues. Like I'm working on stuff that got born from a young age. It doesn't have to be from addiction. It can just be some sort of dysfunction, like some sort of imbalance somewhere. Like I wasn't raised perfectly. Nobody is. No family is perfect. I have things in my life as an adult that I'm changing and working on because of deeply rooted issues from the past that are cluttering things that are happening in my current daily living. So I had one of my caregivers was hot and cold. I grew up with that really hot and cold kind of love, I guess. And I think because there was some guilt, I would say for me, it felt like over hugging. And because as a child, I didn't trust that. I didn't like, oh, all of a sudden, I got treated this way, but now you're fixing it with a hug. I didn't trust that transaction. And so for me, hugging is just like not one of my favorite things to do. And I have a bit of trauma around that. And then my other caregiver, there wasn't any physical affection barely at all and so that was also confusing for me as a child too. So I have some issues around hugging. And so I was actually very grateful to come into one of these other rooms where they just say like, don't do it. And like, I started learning how to ask permission for everything from people, like with respect to them, like, which, can I give you a hug? Would you like a hug? And then they also ask me if I like a hug. Like, this sounds like really simple stuff, but this is like respecting people's boundaries and space and learning how to be respectful. This is respectful communication. And so no crosstalk is like the foundation of safety. Physical, emotional, spiritual safety, and it keeps the rooms safe. And I've been able to get into such a deep space of healing because of no crosstalk, So hugging is considered to be, we're not supposed to do it, no crosstalk. Ask people. So there's a lot of asking in the rooms. And all of this stuff was a shock at first, but now it's something that I really appreciate, because when I come to one of these quieter rooms, I just find it's so peaceful. And it's like, I know that no one's going to interrupt me. I know that no one's going to talk about my share. I know that I'm not going to be judged. There's no naming. There's not even naming of other programs in that program. We keep it really indirect. And we keep it about ourselves. Like, I keep it about myself. Sorry. It's really hard to change from saying yous and we's to only talking in I statements. And almost in all my videos, I always say I, because it's only my story that I can talk about. It's only my journey. And all I can do is share what I have done. I can't tell anyone what to do and how to live their life. They've had a completely different life than me, but I know my story, and I can share my struggles that I've gone through. I can give away whatever I want to give away, and I want to give away the things of my journey that I've learned. Another thing that helps keep the room safe because of no crosstalk is no swearing. And I have to thank kindergarten for that, because basically you have children and they enter the school system, and everything that's said in the home comes out in the classroom. And so I started getting a lot of feedback from the teachers, like there was swears and there was things talked about. And then I really had to like clean up my act, even more at home. So that really helped me get in the gear of just that, like, to stop swearing. It was just easier for me to just completely stop swearing. And so I've done that, but that has helped me with my crosstalk. I don't do it in the rooms. I don't do it at home. I rarely swear anymore. And it keeps me in the moment. It keeps me connected to my feelings. It keeps me connected to the primary purpose, because, swearing or giving advice or interrupting is getting in the way of a true message or a true feeling, and really getting good at listening to myself and listening to others. And this all helps with building healthy and loving relationships. And so I really appreciate that. Another form of crosstalk, a few forms, is long sharing, emotional dumping, and oversharing. And sometimes this can happen. Like, everybody's on their own journey, but I really try to, if I'm really emotional, that's okay to be emotional. Like, it's a safe place, it's a safe space. And because of no crosstalk, I can get emotional and I can cry. And sometimes I go there, but I don't go too far. Like I know to call my sponsor when it gets really deep or too deep. Then I call my sponsor. Like I save it for my friends in recovery, and I share most of it, but not to like an uncomfortable, weird space, because then it turns into seeking attention. It turns into needing the outside fill because I overshared. So, and the point of being in these rooms for me is I'm trying to figure out the story that's going on is inside myself. I'm trying to keep the focus on myself, and I'm trying to fill my own cup from the inside out instead of false ways of filling my cup and filling the void from external things that aren't going to fill my cup. I'm always going to need that external thing. If I'm looking for that external thing, I always need it. But when I fill my own cup personally for me, for the things that I need, I always have that, because the program is endless, because my higher power is endless, because spirituality is endless, and I'm here. So I'm connected with those things. But if I'm feeling from the outside, I'm always going to need that outside. I'm always going to need that compliment. I'm always going to need you to like me. I'm always going to need you to give me adoration, to have self-esteem, so I have to fill my cup from the inside out. And with this no crosstalk, going to the rooms every single time, I keep the focus on myself, keep the focus on my own journey. I don't interrupt people. I try to stay within the time limit of the sharing time. I don't hog the time. I don't hog the emotions. I don't hog anything. I learn to get disciplined and stay within the lines for myself, about myself. And that is a huge act of taking responsibility and accountability. So another thing, like I used to do all of the crosstalk things, and I've fine-tuned and learned to not interrupt people. And the thing about not interrupting people is that forces me to listen better, because there's information, there's communication going on. And if I want healthy and loving relationships, I have to let people have the floor. I have to let people have different points of views. I have to separate myself, and I have to get out of my control, and I have to get out of my dominating ways, and I have to pause and create the space. And I choose to not interrupt. And if I get interrupted, I just let the interruption happen, and I close for that time. But because I'm in control of myself, if I keep getting interrupted, then maybe I'm not going to share with that person as much anymore, or not for right now. So everyone's learning, but it's kind of a newbie behavior where interrupting happens, and it's an act of control. It's an act of being on top. It's feeling something else. Like, what's really, really beautiful is when you're talking with another healthy person and you don't feel judged. You don't get interrupted. There isn't any swearing. There isn't any hogging going on. And then that communication, that opens a lane for really healthy communication. And that's what I love. And I've come to the rooms to learn about what healthy relationships are, and having no crosstalk, and then becoming a healthy communicator and respectful communicator has really opened up those channels in a safe way. And then learning who I can open up those channels with, and then when to close the channel doors. So I really appreciate no crosstalk. And it was uncomfortable to, I felt really confined and controlled at the beginning. And I thought, like, how the heck am I going to stay within 3 to 5 minutes of sharing, or like, I didn't like that it felt like someone was telling me what to do, and no one was telling me what to do. Like, those are just the boundaries of the room. Those are like principles over personalities. So when I surrendered to the rooms, to the higher power, to the no crosstalk, and now I love that there's no crosstalk, and I appreciate it. But it's taught me about healthy communication, and just by being a healthy a safer communicator has helped all my relationships. And it's such an indicator too when it's like I've learned what a red flag looks like with this no crosstalk. So say out there and there's a lot of interrupting, and there's a lot of swearing, and there's a lot of advice giving, like I'm not really drawn to that like I used to be when I was in that. I am more drawn to the quiet, direct, self-assured person that isn't talking and saying, look at me, and not in touch with themselves, right? So like the more I get in touch with myself and talk to myself really good, and I work within these crosstalk lines, the more I see the crosstalk out there, the more I see. So this is how this recovery process has worked for me with learning and appreciating no crosstalk. And if I'm doing crosstalk, it's almost like a way of deflecting from how I'm feeling, or shifting the focus off myself, because now I'm focused on you. So I can't be focused on another person's recovery and what they should do. Like I've stopped telling and showing and explaining what other people should do in their lives, and in the smallest way. And I had this one person in my life that, I don't mean to give you advice, but I'm just going to say, and the point is, if you're not going to give advice, then I can't give advice. There's no advice to be given. So I can only talk about myself. I can only say, in my experience, I did it this way. Or, I start with, I say I statements. So I'll say like, when I really wanted to start working out, and, say someone's saying, I want to really lose weight. And, I don't say, well, maybe you should do this. There's no should talk anymore. I say, well, when I was trying to lose weight, I stuck to a consistent routine, and a small one. I started small. And then I move from there, because I'm taking my personal inventory on what works. So I say what I've done. I don't say what you should do. I don't say you should anything anymore. I talk about just my own stuff, what I should do. And by living the steps, I really practice like taking my own inventory tells me something about my recent history, and then I work with my recent history for me with what works, and I work on that and compare that, and then I with myself, and then I figure out my next kind of few moves. So I don't take something that's way, way out there and then put it in my own life. I actually look at what's going on in my own life to see where I can make the changes that work for me. I don't look at broad things. I try to keep it closer to home, and seeing, like, being really real with myself and honest with myself with can I really make that commitment? Can I really do it on those days? It seems like I can never make this happen on Tuesdays. So why do I keep trying to make it happen on Tuesdays? And then I go, oh, you know what? It usually works better for me when I do this on Wednesdays. And this happened with an easy example is I had a really terrible time at making this particular meeting on Monday nights, and man, I wanted it so bad, but I had to give up my self-will because I just didn't matter something always happened that day. It just didn't matter. It was like, okay, I just have to be in Cologne, in town on Monday nights. And that's that. I'm going to have to move a meeting to a Tuesday night. And my Tuesday nights to this day are still one of my better nights. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. And so that's like living the steps, taking personal inventory on my own life, listening to what's working in my life, keeping the focus on myself and my recovery, practicing that in the rooms, practicing no crosstalk, and then also practicing no crosstalk everywhere I go after, even with my kids, even with my folks. Like, even my sponsor does no crosstalk. Like, it's such a nicer way to communicate when I talk with my sponsor and we're both doing no crosstalk. I'm enhancing my communication and I'm making it safe. I'm making it safe for me, making it safe for them. And it's two people being responsible and accountable for themselves. And I really find that that is such a key thing for healthy relationships. No one is really getting hurt. When I was in unhealthy relationships, I was getting hurt a lot. And then I was recovering and having to deal with my hurt and very upset and talking about the hurt and talking about how they are, and the focus was on something else. So there's a lot less of that today because I'm more aware and I'm more careful and I'm more conscious and I'm more responsible. I'm responsible for myself, and every little thing I am responsible for myself, and I don't slump things off and blow things off and, well, you should just get over it and stop your crying and smarten up or stop acting. I just focus on what I can do, and I let people be what they are. But it's really hard to do that. It takes a while to get to that point. Like it's taken me a while to experience that kind of freedom in my life. But that really opens the door for more healthy things in my life. So if I really want healthy, I got to really focus on being healthy, and that will attract healthy. So no crosstalk is it's actually a gift underneath that. Practicing no crosstalk in all my affairs, not interrupting people, all of these things that I now have in my life started with myself. I stopped interrupting. I stopped giving advice. I stopped focusing on other people and what they did, and focusing on what I am doing and what I did. Asking people permission for stuff, asking if they want a hug, asking if I can comment on their share. Would you like some feedback? I often don't actually ask that as much anymore, but if I do want to comment, I ask them, because that's their personal space in their life and it's their safety. Like, I respect other people's safety as well, because I respect safety so much. So it makes me consciously aware of safety, and I have a deep respect for that. So I just, a lot of things, I believe that no crosstalk is one of those foundational blocks in recovery. And I really work on my foundation with myself, and no crosstalk is one of those things. And, recovery for me, I wouldn't sit on a 3-legged stool, like it's a chair, right? Like it's not a good foundation without one of those pillars, so I'm a person that does all the things in recovery, and I really adhere to that, and I keep growing and moving forward. And I've noticed it just doesn't work without all of the parts. So I focus on doing all of the parts and all the things that I can do that are going to help benefit my recovery and my life. And in turn, that helps everybody around in my life. So it's a win-win. I'm done living the lies. I'm digging for the truth, and I'm doing the hard thing in the moment, but I'm getting the long-term benefits from doing the hard thing in the moment and becoming the thing that I want in my life. So no, crosstalk is a deep thing. Is a deep for respecting myself and others, and having that safety is so important in relationships, I have found, and especially with myself. So I hope that can help someone. So thanks.